Guys, what it is, what it do, it's your boy Caped Informer, and it's about time we crack into the next contender for 2020's Game of the Year, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Took my sweet time with this game, and I'm glad I did because I gotta say, this was a really short game. Short and sweet, and sometimes that's all you really need, you know? Guys, if you are new here, go ahead and swing on over to my subscribe and like button to keep up with all of my deep takes and breakdowns. Spider-Man Miles Morales is a continuation to the 2018 PS4 Spider-Man game, and boy did it stick to the mantra of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Fans of the first game will hop into this one with little to no problem. All of the controls, web slinging, fighting mechanics, all the same, just with an extra flair of that Miles Morales swag. The story of Spider-Man Miles Morales takes place 1 year after the events of the original Spider-Man PS4 game. After Peter Parker leaves New York to join MJ in Symkaria, the Big Apple gains a new spider-based hero who goes by the same name, however with a slightly different origin story. It all happens fairly quickly, but Miles finds his bearings as the titular masked vigilante and ends up dealing with a street war between the Roxxon Energy Corporation and the high-tech criminal army known as the Underground, led by a villain known as the Tinkerer. The game offered a really satisfying twist on that character as well, which was refreshing. But back to the gaming mechanics, as I said before, the punch punch swing swing will all be very familiar to those that played the original Spider-Man game. However, thanks to the addition of Miles' venom and camouflage abilities, there's enough to keep the combat fresh and still pretty addictive. I loved how they also gave Miles some new swinging animation to make him look a little bit less experienced than Peter, but still dope and original in his own way. It's the little things for me. And if that doesn't distinguish the two characters enough for you, the dope new suit additions might help as well, especially the Enter the Spider-Verse suit. Perfection. I also mentioned in the beginning that this game is quite the quickie. And not just the main story. I feel like they just cut a lot of the fat from the original game that made it feel a lot longer than it was. There were a lot less puzzles and mini games, which I'm not complaining about. None of those annoying side missions with characters that no one asked to play with.
So what's the boss doing with the money from this lead job?
Great, Dust, man. All that cash is going straight in.
There were a lot less side missions in general, but I guess that may or may not be a detractor depending on the player. Personally, I'm more of the get to the point kind of player, so it was nice that I could just swing my way through the game and hit some quick side quests while doing it. Like, I almost feel like this game could have been a DLC for the original. A big DLC, but a DLC nonetheless. And don't get me wrong, I definitely feel like the story had just as much impact in the first game despite it being a lot shorter. You got to really identify and build with the main character as well as the side characters in that amount of time. As a lot already know, Miles is biracial, and while we get that with his interactions with the world around him, it never defined him as a character. I'm a strong believer in proper representation matters, and I can see so many people identifying with a minority main character that isn't defined by his street cred or criminal status, but just being, you know.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
Those are my quick thoughts on Spider-Man Miles Morales. It's definitely worth the play, especially if you're a fan of the definitive Spider-Man game. Then it's almost mandatory. Guys, definitely leave me your thoughts on the game in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys all in my next one.